Ah, Switzerland, home of brotherly love and the cuckoo clock. For Christmas, the BMJ decided to investigate that incredibly important subject, fondue. A team from the University Hospital of Zurich decided to do a randomised trial to find out what's best to drink with fondue.
We chose to study fondue because this is an important question here in Switzerland. Yeah, you may think when you go out to dinner in England that it's just a question of what you fancy on that particular evening, but here they take it really seriously. The question always turns out to be, what should we drink? Should it be wine?
Prost!
Should it be tea?
Cheers!
The boss chooses what we drink with fondue because this is important.
The usual drink is black tea, but mostly people also drink white wine.
There will be a fraction of people saying no, I only have black tea with my fondue and it works fine. There will be another person who will say no, I only drink white wine and it suits me perfectly.
I'm a wine man.
There is no scientific basis to this decision. It's old wives' tales and make-believe. So we decided we could do better. We have the technology here in Zurich to really answer this question in a definitive way. We took one group drinking tea,
Cheers!
another group drinking alcohol,
Prost!
and we used special measurements to assess gastric emptying, alcohol levels in the blood, and also questionnaires to assess how they felt during and after the meal. We will all draw lots now to find out whether we're lucky enough to get the tea or the wine. It's almost unbelievable, but Michael has in fact got wine this evening.
Enjoy your meal and good appetit. Sola.
So, a group of volunteers selflessly let themselves be subjected to this ordeal. Early on, in this very scientific experiment, they gave the first of 15 breath samples.
Okay.
And please, now all fill your bags.
The balloon breath test was to measure digestion,
Sehr gut.
and everyone was also breathalyzed before consuming any alcohol. This was to make sure they weren't already drunk.
It's okay.
Chefs, when they prepare fondue, they certainly gonna add alcohol because it adds to the taste and to the flavor. When you measure alcohol in the exhaled air with your regular police device, in the group that just had black tea and water, you will find that there is no alcohol in it because the heating of the fondue will burn off the alcohol that was added. Our volunteers would give us breath samples for a period of 4 hours. We would carry the filled bags with us to the laboratory and analyze them with our analyzing machine.
So here's the fondue.
Fondue is a traditionally Swiss meal, and preparing a fondue is an art, and it heavily depends on who prepares it.
And in this case, there's more to the preparation than meets the eye. This study is interested in gastric emptying, how quickly the food leaves the stomach and is taken up by the body. This needs to be measured, but how do you do that?
How to measure the rate of gastric emptying? It works like this. Everybody consists of carbon. And there are different sorts of carbon which your body consists of. 1.1% your body contains 13C carbon, which differs from normal carbon just by 1 neutron. And the principle of these tests is just to add an excess amount of this 13C carbon to your body, and this is metabolized by the liver depending on the speed how the stomach is emptied. And then you can measure this excess of 13C in the breath, and this gives you an idea of the speed of gastric emptying.
More fondue, excellent!
And so the evening takes shape. Eating fondue, drinking wine or tea, and of course, measuring everyone's breath.
Take your breath test bags. Now do the same way. Please fill your bags.
Science is indeed tough to do.
This is an infrared spectrometer which can measure the content of certain CO2 in breath easily. The exhaled air will be sucked in the device and it will be measured the certainty content.
You can see here, this is the first bag. The volunteer has not yet had his test meal. The second bag, we can see that some of the metabolite has already been taken up. The third bag, you can actually see a real increase already, being 6.4, meaning that the metabolite has been taken up and exhaled.
The findings of this study show us that gastric emptying is greatly slowed down if you drink alcohol with the meal.
Prost!
This doesn't necessarily mean that this is a bad thing. Having slow gastric emptying means that the nutrients are being fed slowly into your system and your body will take up all this energy very efficiently. However, there is a limit. And we found with cheese and alcohol, your stomach took 6 hours only to empty half. This is a tremendously long and slow process, and I think many of us know that after a cheese fondue, you wake up at night and you're still feeling full.
On one volunteer, we put him in the MRI, and what we saw was that he actually had kind of a cheese bread thing in his stomach, which looked quite soft. And when he had alcohol in the MRI, we could see that there was a very nice layer of fluid around the whole thing, but still it looked rather uncomfortable.
If that is a problem for you, then almost certainly you should be drinking tea with your fondue.
Tea up, ducks.
The stomach will empty considerably faster, and it's much less likely that you'll wake up in the night with the so-called cheese baby syndrome, that sensation of a lump of undigested cheese just sitting in your stomach.
Hey, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Oh no, the prof's invited a friend.
This is a historic moment, everyone.
Oi, 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 oi.
Do it again.
0.05 per mil.
This is the first sober Santa Claus in Switzerland.
Oh, that's the orange juice.
It was such a pleasure to have the team of the British Medical Journal here, and I congratulate Mark and Henriette for this fantastic study, which will have an enormous impact of the health of the world. I'm convinced about that. I can tell you I will continue to drink white wine with cheese fondue myself. But probably I will do it more at the weekend where I have more time for digestion than during the week.
What I wanted to achieve with this study was to take the science out of the laboratory and show how this has some relevance to everyday life. Bringing science into a real situation is something that is very important because it makes people understand how important these things are and how they can affect their quality of life, not just when they're ill, but when they're well.